Good afternoon. Now, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has said that American sons and daughters will have to go and fight and die in Ukraine. Listen to this.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war, and they will have to fight because it's NATO that we're talking about, and they will be dying, God forbid, because it's a horrible thing.
Well, he can stick that where the sun doesn't shine. I assume by talking about America and then NATO, he means the whole collective West. So not just American troops, but also British, French, German, Estonian, Romanian, Polish troops as well. So not content with sending now young boys from Ukraine to the front line to be slaughtered in their hundreds of thousands for a completely unnecessary war. He's now calling for young men, I assume young women as well, he said daughters, I think, to go to the front line and defend Ukraine, when our own countries can't even defend our own borders. Now, when it comes to the UK, I can only talk about UK policy. We have had a succession of warmongers as Prime Minister or Prime Ministers over the last year. First Boris Johnson, and then Liz Truss, and now Rishi Sunak, who is saying that the UK is going to be the first country to send long-range missiles to Russia, on top to not to Russia, to fire at Russia, I assume, so sending them to Ukraine, on top of tanks and possibly aircraft as well, and that comes after artillery and long-range artillery too. So the next escalation is to actually send NATO troops and personnel, like undisguised, to Ukraine to join the fight there, as I said, which is completely unnecessary, rather than de-escalating tensions and stopping the slaughter, which any sensible person would do, because this doesn't need to continue. It can be finished in a couple of days if people put their minds to it. Obviously, things take a bit of time to filter through to the front lines when people make a deal and an arrangement in a sort of closed, smoky room somewhere, but that's what needs to happen, and so that we stop this from continuing. But there doesn't seem to be any will to do that, and this is the latest statement from Zelensky, assumedly fully supported by the deep state in the USA, the military-industrial complex, the Pentagon, Victoria Nuland, and other such people who want to escalate this situation, and some of them want to use this to effect regime change in Russia as well, which is not going to happen and is completely balmy to even try. Look, we should focus on the West. We've got enough problems of our own. Russia can focus on Russia. Let's lift the sanctions. Let's get back to trading and just get back to some kind of normality, rather than escalating a war, which is not going to be good for Russia. It's not going to be good for Ukraine. It isn't. And it's not good for the West either. It's just a disaster for everybody. And the longer this goes on, the more it escalates, the worse it's going to be for everybody involved, in terms of the economic destruction happening to the Ukraine and the West, and the cost of lives to all sides in this conflict. So when Zelensky says now that Americans and NATO countries are going to have to sacrifice their sons and daughters to fight in Ukraine, well, he can take that and stick it where the sun doesn't shine.